right, so we'll get started. It's 10 o'clock my time. Thank you all for being here and for attending. I'm sure you had other more exciting things to do on a Saturday afternoon, morning, or wherever you are, so I appreciate your time. In today's webinar is how to really overcome a lot of it's going to be a lot of the myths about weight loss after menopause, and really how to beat the weight loss odds after menopause, because it seems like the odds are against you, right? And so I'm going to show you that is it's not totally true. In fact, it just seems like it is true, but it's not. So again, welcome. I am Linda Malone, for those of you who don't know me, and I am your ageless body coach. So get ready to learn how you can beat the odds of weight loss after menopause. So just a quick review of what you'll learn in today's webinar. Why it's harder to lose weight after menopause and why it certainly seems like it is. The best exercises for weight loss and firming up. And also the biggest exercise and dietary mistakes and how to avoid them. So how to stop sabotaging yourself is basically what I'm saying there. And so if you're wondering, is this webinar really for me? Well, if you have tried to lose weight in the past and never had a problem, and I hear this all the time, oh, I used to be able to just cut out bread and I could drop 10 pounds, but that no longer worked for you. Or if you've always struggled with your weight and now it's like doubly hard, this webinar is for you. If you're not sure which exercises work best for your goals, like what should I do? Should I do cardio? Should I do weight? Should I, there's tons of questions. If you can't get your eating on track, and that's a huge one. And maybe you're just generally unmotivated, discouraged, or depressed over your lack of results. And I also hear that a lot too. And it's actually a bigger issue than I ever knew. And so what is the presentation not about? Because maybe you've seen some other ones. I'm not talking about fad diets or quick fixes, because I'm just not on board with any of those things. And that includes deprivation. No, that's not what this is about. Killer workouts, high intensity workouts, it's not about that, and I'll go into that in detail as we go along. Unrealistic goals, trying to lose a ton of weight really fast, which would go under the guise of fad diets as well. So if you have any questions, as I said, use the question box, and I'll get to most of your questions at the end, but you can, if you're afraid you're going to forget them, you can just stick them in there for now. And if they're quick, I may answer them as you post it. And if you hang in there until the end, it's only 45 minutes, you will get a great new bonus that I created just for this webinar. And so just a little bit about my background, in case you are new to my newsletter or just my website in general. So I'm 58 years old, and I have been a trainer and worked in the fitness business for probably close to 25 years now. I hold 4 national personal training certifications, including, if you look at my name, sometimes I sign it with CSCS. That is a Certified Strength and Conditioning Specialist. That's the hardest one to get, and I got that one because it's recognized by WebMD and a bunch of other sites, and I was writing for them, and they really wanted me to get that, and I did. But it's pretty tough. Then I have a Bachelor of Science in Foods and Nutrition, so I do know more than the average person about nutrition. I spent 12 years as an award-winning fitness writer. I wrote for pretty much everyone. I was writing slideshows for MSN and for, I do Better Homes and Gardens. I won an award for a Family Circle article. And the only reason I tell you that is because as a result of that, it's not that I'm bragging, but it's just that I have talked to the top experts in the field of all these subjects. And so all my information is science-based, and I emphasize that because there's so much misinformation out there. And so as a result of my foods and nutrition degree, I immediately out of college went into recipe development, did a lot of those back-of-the-box recipes, and then I went on to develop recipes for magazines like Oxygen. I had a column in Oxygen magazine for a while. Again, Better Homes and Gardens, Clean Eating. I did recipes for them. And so After that, ironically enough, I became a pastry chef and a bakery owner. And that's really my artsy side coming out because I love creating beautiful things. I didn't necessarily have a real sweet tooth, but I love the pastry chef thing. I worked in a restaurant for a while. So I have sort of been to the dark side and back. And people always find that I've been accused of creating my own clientele, which may or may not be true. So what makes my approach different? Because there's so many people out there, right, that do fitness and that teach about the subjects that I'm going to be talking about. Well, for one, I relate to those that I coach because I am 58. I've been through menopause at the age of 49, been there, done that. I know what happens firsthand. I was an in-home trainer for over 15 years, actually more than that. And during that time, I started out, when I started working with people, I was only in my 30s. And I'd have a lot of women come to me and say, you know, what is happening to me? I turned 50, I gained all this weight. And I was completely freaked out thinking, is this what is just inevitable that is going to happen to me? And it wasn't just one woman. I mean, I had a lot of people. A lot of people hired me at the age of 50 because that seemed to be like the do or die, like I have to do this now sort of thing. And I didn't get it, but now I do. So I'm past menopause. I walk my talk. I lost weight after menopause because what happened is, I've talked about this in my blogs. I had an eating disorder for many years. I was anorexic, and what happens is there's a rebound effect, and most people go through this after you resolve the fact that you really don't want to starve yourself. A lot of people with anorexia, and myself included, gain back not only a healthy weight but overcompensate, and I had gained quite a bit of weight. And I never had, it's like, all right, I'm just going to eat whatever I want. I'm not going to weigh myself. And I ended up having to lose weight. And I did lose it after the age of 50. I lost close to 20 pounds, and I've kept it off. That was about 5 years ago. So my advice, again, is based on sound scientific principles, not hype, not the latest thing that's in the news. I don't follow trends. I just don't think those things, they never last. I mean, you see these things come and go, right? So I've researched the latest information and studies, and I've talked to really the best people in the business to find out, what really works to achieve success. So for something really scary, that actually looks like my cat. I have a black cat. She's like that. So as the average woman gains 10 to 15 pounds during menopause. The average woman. So that means some women gain less, some women gain more. And I hear a lot from women who've gained quite a bit more. So what is happening? So if you think, well, I've been fit my whole life, what in the world, what is going on here? So let's get into that for a second. For one, what can you control? So if you've experienced weight gain after menopause, should you just figure it's a part of life, or can you do something about it? You can control the weight gain. And research shows there's no reason, and I've seen this myself, I've worked with people, and you can lose weight. But the way your weight is distributed does change, and I've seen this also firsthand. And what happens is your hormones shift, of course, so your estrogen drops, and you develop more of a male pattern, just fat distribution. So in other words, how men tend to gain weight around their midsection, and women tend to gain it around their hips and their thighs. That starts to shift. So when your estrogen drops, now you start gaining more weight around your midsection, which is really dangerous. Not only is it aesthetically frustrating because you can't fit into your pants, but you're at higher risk for heart disease, because up until menopause, women have less of a risk of heart disease than men, but that changes once that estrogen drops. So it's about health as well as your weight. So why is it so hard to lose after 50? Your metabolism drops. You may have heard this, but you may not know why. One of the biggest reasons, and this happens with men and women, is that after the age of about 35, you start to lose muscle mass. Now you think, muscle's associated with lifting weights and strength. It's more than that. Muscle burns a lot of calories at rest. In other words, when you're sitting, maybe just now, just listening to this webinar, your muscle is burning calories just to maintain itself. Fat burns very few. Now, what I've heard is 2 calories per hour for fat, 50 to 60 calories per hour it takes for your muscles to maintain themselves. So clearly, as you start to lose muscle, your metabolism drops. And I'm going to tell you how to reverse that in a little bit. Your energy levels decrease. It just physiologically takes more energy for you to do the same thing you used to do when you were younger. Now, I have found when I do a leg workout, and I don't do a heavy-duty leg workout anymore, I just can't. But I have my head on my desk by 2 in the afternoon. I never used to have that. Maybe you have seen that energy shift. Injuries, aches, and pains more likely. And this, again, is due to your tendons become less hydrated with age. And it's something that you really can't prevent. So tendinitis becomes a much bigger issue as we get older. And I've had tendinitis in every joint in my body at this point. And also, it's time to reward yourself, right? I mean, you've made it to half a century, for crying out loud. And how about just a little, R&R and just sitting back, and then what happens is you end up gaining more weight than you ever thought possible, because you can't do that. And that's the problem, is you want to relax, and it's really not the time of your life to do it. And so weight gain begins to happen. Belly fat, and again, I explained earlier why this happens. It's the estrogen drop, so you're more likely to gain weight around your midsection, and a lack of muscle tone because of that loss of muscle. So you see how everything here is interconnected. So those are the three, basically the biggest struggles. So which of those would you most like to resolve? So real quick, in the question box, put the number, weight gain that you'd like to resolve, lack of muscle tone, belly fat, or for all of the above. Sort of a trick question. So just put 1, 2, 3, or 4. I'm going to guess what everyone's going to say. So for overriding everyone this is the third webinar I've done this, and I think that's always been the thing. So, and they all are interconnected. So the weight gain, lack of muscle tone, belly fat, and usually once you start resolving one, you do resolve the others. So so to lose weight and firm up for good, there's a few things that you have to do. One is to eat a clean diet, and I'm going to break all these down for you in a minute. Weight train, for the reasons I talked about a few slides back. Cardio, this is the whole package, okay? And then finding ways to de-stress. And of course, consistency, which may be the most important thing out of all of them, because it's sort of the umbrella for all the other approaches. So the keys to beating the weight loss odds. So number 1, eating clean. And this isn't just about increasing the fruits and vegetables in your diet and cutting back on the sugary and processed foods, although that is part of it. But even when it comes to fruits and vegetables, the more you can eat organic, the better. And the reason is there's something called obesogens. I don't know if you've ever heard of this, but it's what's found in fruits and vegetables in pesticides that is shown to increase belly fat. Now, this has been researched, and it's definitely a thing. I don't know, exactly how much you have to eat, but I would suggest eating, organic as much as you can. And the fruits and vegetables highest in pesticides are those with the thin skins, the one that you eat with the skin. Like peaches are notoriously high in pesticides versus bananas, okay, because you peel that off. But even with an orange or a fruit that you peel, if you are touching the outside of the peel, or if you cut through it, you can get those pesticides on the flesh just from cutting through it. So wash it just with water and before you cut into it or peel. So it sounds like getting obsessive, but you know what? It just becomes second nature after a while, and it's not a big deal. And then the second thing, of course, is weight train. And as you may know by now, that's sort of my big thing. I've always been into weights. It just happens to be something I'm good at. I'm not fast. I'm not a runner, but I'm pretty strong. And this is also comes in handy when your metabolism drops. This is what I mentioned earlier. The only way to reverse that muscle loss is to work out with some sort of resistance. And this could be your own body weight. It could be dumbbells, barbells, kettlebells, anything that challenges your muscles. And we get into this a little bit more here in a second too. And then, of course, cardio, and this is really not, it's not usually an issue. I find like if anything, women do too much cardio because they think it's the only way to lose weight. But as you can tell now, that the weight training also contributes to weight loss because it's speeding up your metabolism at rest, right? So cardio does burn more calories while you're doing it, but it's the combination that really works. And do you have a favorite cardiovascular exercise? Like walking, when I did a survey of the group, walking seemed to be tops. Do you have something else that you like to do? You can pop that into the question box if you would. And let me know, what do you enjoy? And any of these are good. You know, swimming is good when you have joint pain, especially if you're swimming in a heated pool. You know, anything that really helps to, yeah, and biking, Victoria says you, or hiking rather, you said you like to do that. And see, that's good unless you have, like, I have knee osteoarthritis and the uneven terrain is not great. So that's something a friend of mine's been trying to get me to do, and I have not been doing it yet, but I will at some point try it. Spinning, Christy says spinning, and Carissa said treadmill, incline walking, definitely. Rowing machine, Gwen, that's great. That's a great full body exercise too. Sometimes the rowing machines though have, they can hurt your back if you're prone to that sort of thing. Is the only thing, and you know, you just have to find something that you like, right, and something that you can do consistently. So, and the last thing that, well, one of the second to last thing is finding ways to de-stress, and we tend to really downplay this. And the reason is, it's like, well, you know, I don't know, it just seems really hard for many people to relax. And this was something that I have really had to learn kind of the hard way, because I had such a problem with anxiety. And again, I've been very transparent with my own issues. I had really bad panic attacks for many years, and I tried everything. I ended up having to go on medication, which has been, you know, if you need it and it really works for you, I just feel like a normal person. It's just, I wish I hadn't waited so long, but I had no choice. I could barely leave the house. And on a lesser level, just to de-stress in general helps to, it's not just dealing with everyday life, but also it reduces the release of cortisol in your system, because when you get anxious, you release, you've heard of that fight or flight syndrome, okay? They always use the analogy, oh, when we were prehistoric and we were running from dinosaurs. Well, I'm not that old, so I don't know about that. But if you have an emergency happening, your body will release this cortisol just to get you ready for battle. And what happens a lot of times now in our modern day, that battle could be just stress from, you know, family stress. I mean, things that are not life or death, but just super annoying. And when you constantly have this release of cortisol, cortisol tends to pack on weight around your midsection. So it contributes to belly fat. So that's why, you know, taking time for yourself, a little retail therapy is my favorite, actually, but it gets expensive. Hanging out with your friends, anything like that, helps to just, you know, ease the stress. And then overall, again, it's like the umbrella of everything is to be consistent with all of these things, because unless you keep up with them and do them regularly, and this doesn't mean it's a straight trajectory, because everyone falls off the wagon at some point with whether it's eating or exercise, but overall, you want to continue to have these, you know, make habits that you can keep with for forever, really. Even Confucius says, it does not matter how slowly you go as long as you do not stop. A little philosophy in with your fitness information this morning. So the 3 biggest mistakes that sabotage results, and see if these are things that you may be doing, maybe not even knowingly. So number 1 is underestimating calorie intake and overestimating calories burned. So this means, and research has shown, again, and I keep saying research has shown because I don't want you to think this is just my opinion, because it's not. You know, I listen and I read, so I know of what I speak. Calorie intake, if you were to ask people, okay, write down, you know, what you ate today, and they do it from memory, they will likely underestimate their calorie intake by about 44%. That's nearly half. So, and I get a lot of emails from women who say, I only eat X number of calories, and I always question that because it's not a matter of, I don't think, and even with my clients, it's not like people are lying to me, but it's a lack of awareness. Little things like walking through the kitchen, grabbing a handful of nuts, or a couple, a bite of somebody's pizza or dessert, and all these things add up and we don't realize it. And it becomes more and more important as we get older. And overestimating calories burned is another one, which the gym machines tend to calculate the calories burned for the average size man. Even if you punch in your weight and height, it's just the accuracy of those is just in question. And then number 2 is making temporary changes, not permanent lifestyle ones. Going on a diet, starting a program that that you really hate and doing it because you think it's good for you, or those things will just never really work. You need to make an adjustment that you can live with. It's a pretty tall order. And again, lack of the consistent action. So even if you do those things, but you don't do them consistently, you can still have issues. So which of those do you think might be something that you could be better with? Recording, your food, calorie intake. Do you tend to make temporary changes? That'd be number 2. Or lack of consistency, number 3. If you want to just pop your answer into the question box, do you think it's it's one of those 3? Do you have an idea? Most people tend to know, like Carissa said, be consistent. It definitely is a big one. Recording food, and then lack of consistency. I think lack of consistency is probably the biggest one for most people because it's the hardest thing to do. And so let's get into now the best exercises for weight loss and firming up. So we touched on some of the general principles. And so to get a little more specific, so resistance training, the best type of resistance training is total body workouts and functional exercise, which I'll explain in a minute, and then cardio workouts. And this actually, a brand new study just came out. In fact, one of the newsletter readers of my newsletter sent me an article yesterday, which I had missed. The New York Times had a new research study that showed how intervals were seen as being way more effective for, I think they use the term older adults. I don't know. I mean, to me, it's not. 50 isn't old. People over 20, we'll just say that. Total body and functional exercise. So let's first talk about resistance training. So how do you get the most out of it, and what is going to benefit you the most? And that would be, or why does it work better? So you burn more calories. And when I see a total body workout, I mean you're working out every major muscle in your body. It sounds like a lot. I'm talking about major muscle groups. We don't have to work out like, I don't know, earlobe muscles, but so you're doing your major leg muscles, your major upper body muscles, and including those in your workouts 2 to 3 times a week. And you want to also include moves that directly translate to everyday activities. So in other words, this is considered a functional exercise. So think about lifting something out of the trunk of your car and putting it into a grocery cart. So maybe you're doing a modified squat, you are twisting, you're lifting, you're using your biceps, you're rotating, and you're using your core through the whole activity, the whole action, and then lifting something and putting it up on a shelf. Now you're reaching overhead. That kind of movement should be included, or at least, among your other exercises in your workout. And it also cuts workout time when you're working a bunch of muscle groups at the same time, and it burns more calories because you're using a bunch of muscles at once. Now, even in the videos that I do, I focus on individual muscles because those are good too. But this is just one way to look at it, that you want to also include these sorts of total body moves along with the individual muscles. And then interval training is the best approach for burning calories when we're talking about cardio. Now, this wouldn't be every time you do cardio. If you do cardio, say, I recommend 5 days a week if you can get it in, even if you break it up into 10-minute segments. But interval training, including this once or twice a week, is going to really boost your calorie burn. And here's why. First of all, it's defined as intervals. If you haven't heard or you're not familiar with the term, it's really defined as alternating higher, like periods of higher intensity with rest bouts. And I say rest in quotes because you're not really resting. So you have like a baseline, even if you're walking. Okay, so you're walking, pick up the pace for 30, 60 seconds, and that seems like forever if you're just starting out. And you bring it back down and you bring it back up. And what this does is it creates an afterburner effect, which is called EPOC, which stands for excess post-exercise oxygen consumption, which is a mouthful to say, which simply means your body continues to burn calories long after you're finished working out. And here's two simple examples I can give you. If you ever walked up a flight of stairs, and you know how even if you're in shape, you get to that top of those stairs, you can feel your heart pounding, and it takes like a second. That's EPOC. If you've ever worked out and you're sweating and you take a shower and you're still sweating, that's EPOC. Your body is still in that mode where it's burning more calories. So you want to get that in, once or twice a week on top of your regular steady state cardio. And the great thing about it is it can be modified for various fitness levels. You always hear about the high intensity workouts, and I can't do those, and I don't know of a lot of people my age who really can, and there are some who can, and good for you. I don't think it's the majority of people. So you can do a walk where you do a walk jog or walk fast, or biking, same thing, and you adjust the time frames, the intervals, to suit your fitness abilities. So that's what's great about interval training. And my key message is really to beat the weight loss odds after 50, you must create consistent good habits and practices that you can do for the rest of your life. So what happens if you don't? So imagine yourself a year from now, even 5 years from now. Do you notice how time speeds up as we get older? I mean, it just seems like it's crazy. But what does that look like if you continue on the path that you're on? If you're happy with what you're doing and you think that you're on the right path, and that's great, I'm sending you a virtual high five. If that visualization, it's easy for me to say, wasn't pretty, maybe it's time for a change. So let's do a quick recap of what you need to do to get where you would like to be. So to lose weight after menopause, you need to eat clean, do regular cardio, resistance train or weight train, de-stress, and be consistent. So maybe you'd like a little help with all of that. So if this sounds like you've tried to do this on your own and nothing seems to work. You are really ready to make a commitment to do what it takes, and you're in this for the long haul. You're not looking for a quick fix. And this is where I can help you. So I created targeted programs for women like you who are looking for solutions to weight gain and have not found success going it alone. And I can't tell you how many women email me and say, I feel like I'm really just in this by myself. I've never talked to anyone about menopause before. I hear that over and over, and it's sort of upsetting to me because I didn't realize how kind of closeted this whole subject was. And so this is why I came up with all these requests, helped me to develop this, what I call my 90-day ageless body plan. And so what it does is addresses all of these pieces that we just talked about. I include laser coaching and accountability, which is huge. If you don't have somebody who is looking at what you're doing and holding you accountable, it's super easy to fall off that wagon. And it includes daily motivational messages that I send out to inspire you. And these a lot of times are bizarrely in line with what you have to be going through. I hear this from people all the time. And then a meal plan suited for your goals and requirements. How many calories, protein, fat, and carbs do you need to help you reach your goals? And weekly workouts that you can do at home. So you don't have to go to a gym. You don't have to leave the house. It's super convenient. And most importantly, I think with the accountability and the progress reviews are probably the most important thing. So you're constantly measuring not necessarily just your weight, but how are you doing with your, how would you rate yourself at the end of each week? So those are the pieces to the program. And so how do you know, maybe this is right for you? So if you're thinking about it, this is what you can expect, and this is what I have seen with people who I am coaching. 12 to 24 pound weight loss, and this is within 90 days. So it's 1 to 2 pounds a week. More muscle tone. The weekly workouts have, they include videos for overall strength and firmness, increased strength, of course, better core strength along with it, and balance, and feeling better in general. And so this is what I have heard from everyone who, in some degree, who has been on, who has tried, working with me on some of these things. In fact, I think, Victoria, I'm using one of your quotes here because you've been through this too. So Carol is saying that it's how it helped her is, she says it's refreshing to see a exercise program from someone who's going through and has been through menopause. And I will tell you, there are very few of us who are doing that sort of thing. And so why I picked Carol's testimonials, because that last sentence, she goes, I was an avid exerciser, but I was doing the wrong things. So even if you are exercising, if you're not targeting and doing the right exercises for your body and for your goals, you still may not see the results you want. And so Victoria said she lost 12 pounds. I don't know if that's changed or if it's increased, or I know you're in the group. I don't want to peg you or put you on the spot. But she says, I feel healthier, stronger, and is back to a more consistent pattern of healthy eating and exercise. And so that's definitely the consistent pattern is really what it takes. And then I have one final testimonial with Tammy, who she has lost 15, I think she actually lost more weight than that since she started, and she is about 3/4 of the way through the program and found this plan really worked, and really the support and guidance and during every step, I'm there for you. And this is the thing, if you look at other programs and you might think, well, there's other programs out there. Sure, in fact, you can find them and they're free. But the problem is you will never find, and in fact, I haven't found one, maybe I'm wrong, but I don't think they're out there, a woman my age who is doing this, who is accessible. You'll find programs that are done ahead of time for you, that are a kind of a cookie cutter thing. These workouts are adjusted for you and for your needs. And this is what the weekly review is about. And I constantly had people asking me, hey, I can't do this, and how about if we try this? And I'm there. I'm 100% in. So if we break this all down, these are the plans that I currently have. And just real quick, there's a welcome email and video with each one of the bronze, silver, or platinum plan. And the platinum is the closest to actually having me like in your house, going through your cupboards and holding your hand and like being there. Super annoying. People say, oh, well, of course Oprah can lose weight because she has a personal trainer. That does not, you really have to still do the work, but that's as close as you're going to get to that. And so the initial phone consult, now there's a line going through the bronze one, but for this group and just for the next week, I'm including the consult with all the programs, because that is the most time-consuming part. So that's why I was eliminating it, but I will include that for anyone who signs up in the next week. Email support is for everyone, and that's usually the most convenient because we all are in different parts of the world. Custom eating plan, that's what we discuss during the phone consult, and once I stop including that, that will just be through email, but you still will get a personalized plan. Daily motivational emails, end of week review, super important, and that's where it really does take work on your part. It doesn't happen on its own, but that is where I need to hear from you. How did you do? Most people know where they fell short, or if they did exceptionally well. I mean, usually you know. And then the Ageless Body recipes now, I've had people say, oh, well, that's really, cheap. You just give 1, 2, or 3 recipes a week. And I want to explain why. Because those recipes, I mentioned to you that I have a recipe development background. Those are recipes I developed and or tested myself. Well, if I developed them, I tested them, and they appeared in various magazines at one point or another. So there's not an endless supply of them. I'm working on some new ones specifically for this plan, but they are tested and they're low fat. They're high protein for the most part. I have some little desserty ones in there, but they are my personal collection. That's why there's only a few. Then, but you still get a total of like 24. I think I have it the next slide, how many you get. Workout videos, you get a total body workout for the bronze. So each Monday you will get the complete workout. If you sign up for the silver or platinum, you will get an additional workout, which is added on to the initial one. And then a private Facebook group, which I'm just starting up now. And the good thing about this is because this group is really small, I'm in there all the time. And I will be in there all the time because like I said, I have to really just start this. I'm in there. You get personal consulting with me, and it's one-on-one basically. And then daily email check-ins. Daily, that's only the platinum because you need to really be committed to doing this in order to tell me every single day what you're eating. And so it's only a special person who wants to do that sort of thing. But and then I offer bonuses. So for the silver plan, you get, actually that's in the wrong place. That should be a 14-day Ageless Body Nutrition cheat sheet should be under the silver. And then you get fat burning workouts for the platinum along with the nutrition cheat sheet. Please visit my website at agelessafter50.com under the Work With Me page for the most current prices for these programs. And in the end, here's what you get. It's really literally a toolbox full of solutions that you will be able to use for the rest of your life. So you'll have 12 to 36 workouts to mix and match, all routines that you can do. You have access to those for your whole life. This is what you get. So 12 to 36 custom developed recipes and tons of motivational tips. I don't know if you'll keep referring to those, but they do help, and then consistent habits that you can use for the rest of your life. And so you want to take action now. So you can go straight to the plan page and pick your best plan and get started, or you can contact me and we can hop on the phone and see what might be the best plan for you. And if you have any questions right now, we can address those and then think about 90 days from now, how you feel. So any questions that you have about any of the things that I covered? Okay, so Christy asks, is it better, in order to lose weight, is it better to cut calories or cut carbs? I realize you need carbs, but should you reduce the amount of carbs significantly? What are the average calories to take in to lose 1 to 2 pounds a week? So to lose weight, cutting calories and carbs, it's calories is the bottom line, but carbs kind of get the bad rap because no one ever craves a skinless chicken breast when they are hungry, right? It's always the carbs. It's the junk food or carbs, but carbs are also fruits and vegetables. So in that respect, what I always recommend, and this is what I do myself, is to cut back on the starchy carbs. First of all, you'll be cutting back on calories in general because that's, a cup of rice, a cup of pasta is like 200 calories. You know how easy it is to eat that, especially if you go to an Italian restaurant, a cup of pasta is nothing. So I suggest cutting back on carbs and certainly not cutting them out. And they also, carbs make you retain more water than protein and fat. And even though fat has more calories per gram, I would definitely suggest cutting back on the starchy carbs. And calories to lose, it really depends on how much you currently weigh in order to lose the 1 to 2 pounds a week. So this is where that personalized plan comes in, because I really need to know, what I mean, it varies anywhere from 1,200 to 1,500 calories. It's sort of all over as far as how many calories you need. So let me get to some of the other questions. So best exercise to strengthen your hips. As far as, okay, I'm thinking hips, do you mean like inner outer thigh or actually the hip joint? I'm not sure what you mean by that question, Lisa, so if you could clarify that. Okay, yeah, and Carissa says you can start next month. Great. Okay, I will send you a note. Yeah, and if you sign up today, you can start at a later time. I mean, that's fine. So yeah, just let me know. And this is being recorded. Joan asked if it's recorded, and yes, you should. Actually, the recording includes the whole slideshow, so that would be included. And I had people who emailed me who said somebody was from Australia and said it would be 4 in the morning and she couldn't make it. So I know this. I tried to do different times that would accommodate everybody. Okay, so Lisa, I don't know if I'll answer your question as best I can. So strengthen your hips. Usually, I'm trying to think a good exercise for that. I don't know if this is exactly addressing what you're talking about. The side to side walk with that tubing. I don't know if you've seen that video I do. So you take like a tube, resistance tube, you can wrap it around, and usually it's like a circle. So I would invest in one of those. It's only a few bucks. And you step into it, and then you pull it up, like you can do it around your ankles or all the way up to above your knee. If you have knee problems, I'd suggest putting it up above your knees. And then you keep tension on it, and you walk side to side. So it's called like a crab walk, how crabs kind of walk sideways. And so you keep tension on it. And if you want to send me a note, I can send you a link to that specific exercise. But that's probably the best one. There's other ones out there, but that should help. And okay, certain fruits that are better to eat than others. Veronica asks, better to eat as far as, I'm thinking you're probably asking for a fattening or well, here's the thing with fruits, you want to be careful of the sugar content of some of them. Like bananas are known for being really high in sugar, but I happen to love them, so I'm not aboard. I mean, you just have to be careful with eating too much fruit because it is sugar. I recommend like increasing the berries in your diet. Berries are super high. Raspberries, I don't know if you know, that are really high in fiber, which usually we're lacking in our diets. I love raspberries, and I recommend those. Berries are really great for, I think the blueberries are really good for fat burning. I wrote a whole article about this. I can dig that up. But definitely berries are good to include. Eating fruits with the peel, look for the high fiber ones like the apples, peaches, pears, but just don't go overboard because it is sugar, and like a couple pieces a day. Okay, so Lisa, that is what you're looking for. Leg press, Carissa is asking about leg press for the gym. The only problem I have with leg press is that it really is hard on your back. Now, the leg press, if you're not familiar with it, for those of you who aren't familiar, and there's slightly different variations depending on the gym and the machine, but you're on your back and you're pushing up against a plate that's usually loaded with weight. If you have any kind of back issues, I have osteoporosis in my spine. I could never do that. I mean, that's the kind of thing. Whenever I've done a bunch of articles that are the worst exercises you can do. That one always makes the list. I never thought it was that bad. I think it strengthens your legs, but it's kind of a cost-benefit thing. It could really compress your spine. I would go light on it. If it's the only leg exercise you really like, just go easy on it and make sure you push from your heels as you push that plate up. And when you bring the plate down towards your body, don't go so far down that your hips come off the back of it, because if your knees come too far down, that puts more stress on your back. So if that makes sense. Great recommendations to beat sugar cravings in general. Joan, that's a great question. And you know what it is that what I find is when you crave sugar, a lot of times you're low in protein, because the protein, if you have protein at every meal, just a little bit, it helps to cut your appetite. And a lot of times when we crave sugar, it's because our blood sugar is low. We haven't had enough protein during the day. And a lot of times when you increase the protein, those sugar cravings will go away. Oh, Carissa said maybe that's why you have a back issue. It could be. I don't know. I mean, that's just one of those machines that, I'm just a little on the fence about. As I said, I used to do them all the time, and I just had too many experts saying that is the worst thing for your back, and so I stopped doing it. And now with my knees, it's out of question. So, okay, intermittent fasting. Gwen asked about that. That's a lot of people have had success with it, and I think there's different ways to do it as long as it's done in a healthy way. So you have like a couple days a week where you're really low calorie, like 500 calories. I don't know. Are you in the Facebook group and talked about doing that? I remember somebody talking about that. I think it's fine if you do it in a healthy way. I don't know. Again, you have to find what works for you. I haven't heard anything it's horrible as far as having any negative effect. And if it helps you lose weight, then try it and see how it works. Yes, eating cheese, crackers and cheese, that's why it's good, because you have the carbs and you have the protein. And then as soon as you include wine with that, right, it's all out the window. All right, well, we have, okay, it's a little past time. I think we covered everything. Okay, so that's, so intermittent fasting, not eating within an hour of waking. You know what, I don't know, Gwen, I usually eat very little until later in the morning, just because I usually go to work out, and I've been doing it for years. And I don't know. I mean, yeah, the general rule is you should eat something within 45 minutes of getting up. I think that's a general rule. So if you have any blood sugar issues, of course, then you really have to be careful. So it depends on the person. I'm kind of hesitant to recommend or not recommend something like that. I don't know enough about it, to be honest. I just think that if it works for you and you lose some weight and you're okay with it, then, to ask, and your doctor says it's fine, and then I'd say it's fine. Okay, well, thank you again so much for being here. If you have any more questions, please, shoot me an email at linda@lindamalone.com. I'd be happy to answer any questions you have. And if you want to just set up an appointment to talk with me, I'm offering like a 15-minute consult, and I will be announcing things like that more down the road. And but again, thank you for being here, and I hope you got something helpful out of this. And I just wanted to show you one last slide of my most famous photo bomber in all my videos. That's Happy, one of my cats. So I look forward to working with you, and thanks so much, and take care now.